Hello, everyone. Welcome back to today's story. In this episode, we follow Alex and Tuna as their love finally blossoms into a long-awaited wedding. But just as happiness settles over the orchard, jealousy brews in the shadows. Mai, Alex's longtime friend, can't bear to see him belong to another woman. Driven by obsession, she hires Dewey to sabotage the ceremony, unaware that her plan will not only unravel her pride, but also test the strength of true love. What begins as a joyful celebration soon spirals into a storm of betrayal, forgiveness, and redemption. Stay with us until the end to see whether Alex and Tuna's love can withstand the darkness set against them. And don't forget to subscribe to help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support truly means the world to us. Evening drapes softly over the countryside, painting the grapefruit grove in hues of amber and gold. The sweet fragrance of ripened fruit filled the air, and laughter echoed faintly from the workers cleaning up after a long day. In the middle of it all stood Alex, tall and confident, the sun catching the edge of his smile as he discussed final shipment plans with Ms. Lan and Mr. Min. He was every bit the man his mother had hoped he'd become. Steady, hardworking, and deeply respected by everyone around him. Yet behind that calm composure was a heart racing with anticipation. He'd made up his mind. It was time to marry Tuna. That evening, in their modest wooden house on the hill, Mrs. Huyen, Alex's mother, sat beside a vase of grapefruit blossoms, her hands resting gently on her lap. When Alex came home, his shirt still smelling of the grove, she looked up with the kind of smile that held both pride and nostalgia. "You've built a good life, son," she said softly. "It's time you shared it with someone deserving." Alex's eyes brightened. "I already know who that is, Mom." Mrs. Huyen tilted her head, pretending surprise, though she had long suspected. "Tuna?" He nodded, his voice thick with affection. "She's been by my side through every hardship. I want to make it official." For a moment, silence filled the room. Only the cicadas sang from the garden. Then, Mrs. Huyen clasped her son's hand. "Then we'll make it grand. A wedding to bless this family and the land you both have nurtured." Alex smiled gratefully, unaware that across the village, a pair of eyes burned with envy. Inside a cafe at the edge of town, Mai swirled her cup of coffee, the steam curling into the dim air like her own tangled thoughts. Her perfectly manicured nails tapped against the porcelain. Rhythmic, controlled, deliberate. On the table lay her phone, its screen showing a message thread full of photos. Alex smiling beside Tuna. Alex repairing the fence near her garden. Alex holding little Henry. Each image was like a thorn pressed into Mai's heart. She'd known Alex since college. They had once dreamed of running a business together. He, with his passion for the land. She, with her sharp mind and ambition. But then Tuna appeared. Humble, soft-spoken, a village girl who didn't belong in the same sentence as Alex. At least that's how Mai saw it. Yet here they were, about to get married. She exhaled sharply and whispered to herself, "No, this isn't how it ends." Moments later, she called Dewey, a man whose reputation was murky, but whose loyalty could be bought. When he answered, his tone was lazy, amused. "Mai, it's been a while. What kind of trouble are you brewing this time?" "I need someone to interrupt a wedding," she said, her voice calm but icy. There was a pause on the line. Interrupt? Make it fall apart, Mai clarified. You'll be paid well. Dewey chuckled. You always did know how to make things interesting. Mai didn't smile. Her eyes gleamed coldly under the cafe's dim light. Just make sure Alex never walks down that aisle. Days passed quickly. Under the open sky, the farm bustled with energy. Mrs. Huyen coordinated workers decorating the yard with flowers and ribbons. Tables were built, lights were strung, and the scent of lemongrass and grilled chicken filled the air. It was a scene of celebration, simple, rustic, yet overflowing with warmth. Tuna, dressed in a pale blue dress, moved quietly among the workers, handing out tea and laughing softly when baby Henry tugged at her skirt. Every smile she gave was sincere, yet deep down, she felt a flicker of nervousness. She couldn't help but think about Alex's friends, especially Mai, whose sharp eyes always seemed to follow her. Are you all right? Alex asked, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. She looked up at him and smiled faintly. Just a little overwhelmed. I never thought I'd see this day. He squeezed her hand. Neither did I, but we made it. Above them, the golden evening light spilled through the trees, painting their silhouettes in warmth and hope. The villagers whispered blessings. Some even said it was fate. The son of the orchard marrying the woman who had brought life back to the land. But fate, it seemed, was about to be tested. 2 nights before the wedding, Dewey arrived in town. He leaned against his motorcycle near the gate of the farm, his dark eyes scanning the festive lights strung across the trees. Every detail of the setup, the stage, the decorations, the laughter, felt like a target waiting to be hit. Mai's instructions had been clear. Cause chaos, humiliate Tuna, destroy the event. He lit a cigarette, watching the smoke rise against the night sky. Easy enough, he muttered, though part of him wondered just how far Mai expected him to go. Later, he sneaked into the storage shed. Among the tools and wedding supplies, he found the generator that powered the lights and sound system. He smirked. Perfect. A few adjustments, a snipped wire here and there, and chaos would bloom right in the middle of their perfect day. What Dewey didn't expect was Henry's quiet giggle behind him. The little boy had wandered in, clutching his toy. He looked up at Dewey with innocent curiosity. Uncle, what are you doing? Dewey froze, heart pounding. Nothing, kid. Go home. But Henry's eyes were wide and unblinking, too young to understand danger, yet old enough to remember faces. Dewey hesitated, the sound of footsteps approaching from outside making his stomach twist. He ducked behind a stack of boxes just as Tuna entered, calling softly, Henry, where are you? Her voice was gentle, worried. Henry ran to her, wrapping his tiny arms around her legs. There you are, she sighed in relief, scooping him up. As she turned to leave, Dewey peered out from the shadows, his breath caught. For a brief moment, her kindness pierced through his cold intent. He swallowed hard. What am I doing? He muttered under his breath. Still, as he slipped away into the darkness, the envelope of money in his pocket felt heavier than ever. The next morning, the sky broke open in sunlight. Birds sang from the trees, and laughter filled the air as guests began to arrive. The courtyard was alive with color. Bright fabrics, fragrant flowers, the clinking of glasses. Tuna stood in her small room, her heart fluttering as her friend fastened the final pin in her hair. The white dress fit perfectly, its simplicity only enhancing her natural beauty. Outside, Alex waited nervously, adjusting his tie again and again, his mother teasing him lovingly. "This is it," he whispered, smiling, "the beginning of forever." But somewhere beyond the laughter, beyond the music and joy, a storm was brewing quietly, crafted by jealousy, carried by deceit, and set in motion by those who couldn't bear to see love win. Morning broke like a dream. The air shimmered with music, laughter, and the fragrance of fresh jasmine. Villagers arrived in their best clothes, carrying trays of fruits and small gifts. The grove, usually calm and filled with only the hum of bees, now thrummed with excitement. Banners fluttered gently above the pathway leading to the main courtyard, where the ceremony would soon take place. Alex, dressed in a crisp white suit, stood by the arch of flowers. His hands trembled slightly as he checked his watch, but his face glowed with quiet pride. Around him, workers who had once toiled under his guidance now smiled warmly, whispering blessings. To them, this marriage wasn't just a celebration of love. It was a promise of renewal, of stability, and of good fortune for everyone connected to the orchard. Meanwhile, Mrs. Huyen, elegant in her traditional aodai, moved gracefully through the guests. Her heart swelled with happiness each time someone congratulated her. She had dreamed of this day, seeing her son find a woman who grounded him, who loved him not for his wealth or family name, but for his soul. And Tuna, that gentle, hard-working girl, had proven her worth time and again. But even as joy filled the air, shadows crept unseen along the edges of the grove. A few hundred meters away, Dewey leaned against the fence, adjusting the strap of a worn backpack. Inside were the tools of his trade and his guilt. The early sunlight caught the glint of the small device he had prepared, a modified sound trigger that, when activated, would send a burst of static through the speakers during the ceremony. It wasn't dangerous, but it would humiliate them, turning what should have been a perfect moment into chaos. He took a deep breath, scanning the crowd. In the distance, Mai's car glimmered under the shade of a tamarind tree. Through the tinted glass, he could barely make out her silhouette, her posture cold and unmoving, like a queen watching her game unfold. She had given him a final warning over the phone that morning. "Do not fail me. I want that wedding ruined." Dewey's hand shook slightly as he pulled out his phone. A message from his younger sister blinked on the screen. "Don't forget to visit Mom's grave today." His chest tightened. For a moment, the weight of what he was about to do pressed down harder than he expected. He muttered, "Sorry, kid. Business is business." Then with one last exhale, he slipped through the crowd. At the center of the courtyard, Tuna appeared. The crowd gasped softly. She walked slowly, her white dress flowing like a ripple of moonlight, carrying baby Henry in her arms. Every step she took was measured, her eyes lowered, but her heart fluttering with emotion. When Alex saw her, everything else blurred away. His smile spread slowly, tenderly, as if he were seeing her for the first time all over again. "You look beautiful," he whispered as she approached. Tuna smiled shyly. "And you look nervous." "I am," he admitted, laughing under his breath, "because I still can't believe you said yes." The priest cleared his throat gently. signaling the start of the ceremony. The guests hushed, turning their attention to the couple standing beneath the floral arch. As the priest began to speak, a breeze passed through the grove, carrying with it the faint sound of rustling leaves and distant birdsong. Everything felt perfect, almost too perfect. Dewey stood behind the sound system, pretending to adjust cables. Sweat trickled down his neck. His thumb hovered over the button that would ruin everything. Then his gaze fell upon Henry, sitting on Mrs. Hullion's lap, giggling as he waved a tiny flower in the air. The boy's laughter was pure, unguarded, alive. For the first time in years, Dewey felt something twist inside him, something he had long buried. He hesitated. The priest smiled warmly. "Alex, do you take Tuna to be your wife? To love her, protect her, and stand by her through all storms and seasons?" Alex's voice was steady. "I do." "And you, Tuna, do you take Alex to be your husband, to walk beside him through sun and rain, through laughter and hardship?" Tuna's lips trembled slightly, tears glistening in her eyes. "I do." Applause rippled through the guests. The sound of clapping, the laughter, the joy. It filled the grove like a melody. And at that exact moment, Dewey's thumb pressed down on the trigger. The speakers erupted in a piercing screech. Guests flinched. The priest stopped mid-sentence. Confusion spread like wildfire. Then, suddenly, the generator cut off, plunging the area into silence. The music, the lights, everything died. A murmur rose among the crowd. What happened? Is something broken? Alex turned sharply toward the sound booth. Check the cables. Dewey froze, heart pounding. He hadn't expected it to go this far. He only meant to interrupt, not destroy the entire setup. But before he could move, a voice snapped behind him. Sharp, female, furious. "What did you do?" It was Mrs. Hullion. Her eyes locked on the loose wires and the small device in Dewey's trembling hands. Within seconds, workers surrounded him. I was trying to fix it," he stammered. But the lie fell flat. "Who sent you?" "Mrs. Hullion demanded. Dewey swallowed hard. His eyes darted toward the tamarind tree, toward the glint of Mai's car. For a moment, their eyes met through the glass, and that was enough. Mai started her engine and drove off, her expression unreadable. "Tell me!" Mrs. Hullion shouted again. Dewey's shoulders slumped. The fight left his body all at once. "Mai! It was Mai. She paid me." A gasp swept through the guests. Tuna's hand flew to her mouth. Alex's face hardened, disbelief giving way to anger. "Mai?" he echoed, his voice barely above a whisper. Dewey nodded, shame flooding his eyes. "She wanted to stop the wedding, said you didn't belong with her." Moments later, the crowd parted as Mai stepped out of her car. The silence that followed was heavier than any storm. She walked forward slowly, chin high, but her confidence faltered as she met Alex's gaze. "Alex, He cut her off, voice cold. "You tried to destroy the happiest day of my life." Mai's lips trembled. "I just wanted to protect you. She's not like us. She'll drag you down." "That's enough," Alex said sharply. "The only person dragging me down right now is you." His words struck harder than any slap. Mai's eyes filled with tears. For the first time, she looked small, fragile, utterly defeated. "I just wanted you to look at me the way you look at her," she whispered. Alex's expression softened, but only for a moment. "Then you should have learned what love really means." He turned away, walking back to Tuna. The crowd burst into applause again, not for the drama that had just unfolded, but for the quiet strength of forgiveness, for the way truth had triumphed before lies could rot their joy. As the sun dipped low, the music returned, soft and pure. Under a sky streaked with orange and violet, Alex and Tuna finally exchanged their rings. Henry clapped his tiny hands, laughing as flower petals rained down from above. Dewey stood at the edge of the courtyard, watching. He knew he couldn't stay, but before leaving, he approached Mrs. Huyen and bowed deeply. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I won't take her money again." She nodded, her expression stern, but not unkind. "Go make something better of yourself." He smiled faintly, then disappeared into the fading light.